Greetings, brothers and sisters. Hello and welcome back to Eva's House of Spirit. For those of you who might be new to this channel, I am Eva, and I wanted to share in this video a few things that I neglected to mention in my video regarding creating sigils from planetary squares using the Western alphabet. There are just some things that, in hindsight, I thought maybe I should have shared or mentioned. And that's why I'm here right now. The first thing I wanted to share with you is that I have a method for transferring your sigils onto paper that you plan to work with in a way that is very neat and pretty easy. It's not too complicated. Now on this is one of the sheets that I used from that video. It's a sheet of notes, and you can see here I have the planetary square of the sun, and I have here a sheet of tracing paper. And so once we had our numerical values, as I did show you in that video, I said the next step is to trace the numerical values onto the square to create the sigil. So what you could do, I'm going to show you how to do this. First, let me just draw the sigil. Okay, so I have traced the sigil. As you can see on the planetary square, I have created the form. Now what you're going to do in order to transfer this onto your paper that you're going to be working with, you're going to flip over your tracing paper and you're going to trace the image onto the opposite side of the tracing paper. Just trace exactly what you drew on the opposite side again on the back side. Okay? So that's the front, that's the back. Okay, you took your pencil after flipping over the tracing paper and you literally just traced it again. And now in this case I have this paper here, and what you're going to do is you're going to put your tracing paper with the correct side up, and you're going to take your pencil and you're going to press really hard, and you're going to rub the sigil onto the paper that you wish to transfer it onto. I'm going to demonstrate this. You don't have to be neat because you're just writing on the top of the tracing paper. Try to put some pressure as well when you're doing this, because that really does help to transfer the sigil. And now what you're going to do is you're going to peel the paper up, and now you have your perfect sigil on your paper that you're going to work with. But what you're going to do to make sure it's, dark enough, you can take your pencil, or you can take a pen, and you can just go over that sigil like so to darken it nicely. I personally usually like to work with ink, so if I was to do this, I would probably just trace it and transfer it in pencil, and then I would go over it in ink. And that is a nice convenient way to have your sigil transferred to a piece of paper that you're going to be using in your work. Okay, I just thought I'd share this with you. This is something that I learned in a graphic design class that I had in high school, and I thought, you know what, maybe my fellow practitioners would appreciate this little tip here in transferring the sigils that they create. Now with that said, you can also, when you make your sigils, you can measure them with a ruler, the exact placement of the lines, like how far away from each other they are, how long they are, and then you can calculate up or down in increments of measurement, and then you can just use a ruler and you can freeform draw it to larger or smaller scale. That's another way that you can do it. Another thing I wanted to share with you that I neglected to mention in my video that I made on sigils like this made from planetary squares in the Western alphabet is that traditionally for talismans, these sigils are made on the metals that correspond with the planets that you're working with. So if I was to work with this to create a talisman of prosperity that is created under the influence of the sun, for example, I would probably find some sort of piece of jewelry that is made of gold, and I would take it to a jeweler and have that jeweler then etch this sigil onto that gold piece of jewelry. But failing that, because certain planets, some of the planets have metals that are not really safe to work with, or you may not have an alternative that is easy to use, or there may just be some reason why working with the planetary metals might not exactly be something you can do. Alternately, you can work with virgin paper. What that means is a piece of paper on which you have not written anything else. And the reason for that is that if you're going to be using your sigil written on a piece of paper, you don't want to have any unrelated kind of writing, anything that has nothing to do with your work on that paper, because theoretically it could add outside intentions to your work. So it is suggested, I definitely suggest, working with virgin paper. You can use just plain white paper. That's what most people probably would do. But my own suggestion as well, if you're going to be working these, is that you could use construction paper like I have done here. This is a color that corresponds with the sun, yellow. But depending what planetary square you're working with, you can use papers, construction papers of other colors to kind of capture that associated color vibration. That's just another thing I wanted to share. And speaking of color vibrations, if you're going to be working with these sigils in relation to candle magic, you might want to consider using candles that are, again, in alignment with the colors that are associative of the planets whose squares you are working with in creating your sigils. Alternately, you can always work with white, because white is pretty much a, one-size-fits-all go-to color when you're in doubt. But these are just a few suggestions anyway that I thought I would throw in. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you like the transfer method I showed you. I hope you find it helpful that I have mentioned working with the associative planetary metals, indoor colors, the idea for the construction paper. I hope these are all things that, you might find useful in your work, maybe with these sigils. And with that, I'm going to wish you blessed be and ashe. You have a great day. If I think of anything else, I'll come back and make other videos kind of elaborating on anything that occurs to me later that might not have occurred to me in the moment. And until next time, until our next exchange, you stay awesome. And bye-bye for now.